Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another Second Breakfast podcast. I'm Andy Roth alongside Phil Duvall. Say hi, Phil.
Hello, Andy and the nation.
What are we doing today, Phil?
Oh my gosh. I'm so excited about today. Project Melway.
It's
Br-
Wednesday,
Brought to you by.
the Gibsonian Institute. Every Wednesday, Project Melway brought to you by the Gibsonian Institute. Phil, tell our audience what they've won.
You have won a trip inside the mind of one of the unheralded and most controversial actors of our day. A gentleman by the name of Mel Gibson. Andy and I are going to places you have not imagined by watching every single movie he's ever been in chronological order. We are in the year 1993.
We are. What's the movie we're seeing today, Phil?
Today we're watching a movie called Forever Young, which
Yes.
is like a smorgasbord of things to discuss in a 90s film. Today's
Yes.
topics, today's conversations will touch on Elijah Wood,
Oh,
J- Jamie Lee Curtis, J.J. Abrams, Walter Goggins,
Walton.
Walton. I apologize, Mr. Goggins. You are a phenomenal actor, and your name is hard to say. Walton Goggins, and of course, the inimitable MG Mel Gibson. We will also talk, I believe, in my opinion, about Steven Spielberg, and I think that we will discuss, and I believe that we will discuss some other funky stuff, just as far as ridiculous plot lines and probably makeup effects as well.
Yes, indeed. Indeed, we will. So, Forever Young, the 10 to 15 second plot synopsis. A dashing young daredevil played by MG in 1939 is in love with this woman, can't can't get his bat off the shoulder to like ask her to marry him, and so
Yep.
she leaves this diner where they're having lunch and then pie, and
Gets hit
because
by a car
gets hit by a car, sort of.
or a crate? I'm not
Yeah,
quite sure.
something. She's in the street and there's a turned over crate and there's a car, but there's not a lot of blood, so
Or for that matter, sound effects to tell us what happened.
nothing, zero. And so because she's in a coma and because Mel Gibson does not want to watch her die, his friend, played by Norm from Cheers, George Wendt, is he's a scientist who has just perfected freezing and unfreezing a live chicken.
Right.
So he asks him to put
Cryogenics, people. Cryogenics.
yes, he asks like this way I can be frozen for a year and I won't have to watch the love of my life die.
Right.
And then for reasons that become clear later on in the movie, he has not awakened until 1993,
Right.
when he emerges looking like a melsicle.
A gorgeous Melsicle, though.
It's true.
He's in the
He is
he's in
a
the
gorgeous
prime
man.
of his life.
And he
I'm
he
ready
is,
to argue. I'm ready to argue that Mel Gibson. This may be the movie in which Mel Gibson is the most good looking.
I am ready to hear your argument.
Okay.
He is found by Elijah Wood and a friend who is played by an actor that is not Elijah Wood, and Jamie Lee Curtis plays Elijah Wood's mom, and then it's a story about how he tries to find the love of his life, even though
Yeah.
she
No, he's just trying to find out what happens to him, and then it turns out that the love of his life
is still alive.
the plot is wafer thin.
Wafer thin, yes.
It's got some I mean, like the conceit is full. And so basically they just like try to ring it like, here's the idea of the story. Like,
Right.
the guy is frozen for 50 years and he wakes up.
Yeah.
Go.
Right. Indeed.
And I think to a large degree that's what happens. I think that like the movie is only an hour and 40 minutes. It's not very long. Um, it's not like it's trying to delve into, like, the deep recesses of like
anything.
anything. But it's a
It,
perfectly pleasant, enjoyable film.
yes, I might go so far as to call it a romp.
Where do we want to start on this movie? Like, what do you want to start with?
Let's start with, you know what? You know what? Since we got his name wrong, let's talk about Walton Goggins real quick.
All right, let's.
Right after he's unfrozen, he is in the military.
Yes,
He's a test pilot for, I guess, the Air Force, right?
sure. Why not?
Sure. Um, and he goes onto a base, and he's in basically pajamas because he has just been unfrozen.
He
And
steals them from a clothesline because in 1993 someone had a clothesline.
that's right. That's right. Because in 1993 it was a cartoon. 1993 was a cartoon voiced by Mel Blanc.
Right.
Um, and so he shows up in pajamas to the guard post out front, and it is guarded by a very very young Walton Goggins. It is the first credit that is listed on his Wikipedia page. It is
Wow.
not the first credit listed on his IMDb page.
Okay.
Walton Goggins, you might know from literally anything that has been produced over the past 7 years. He's everywhere. He always plays like the reedy, thin hick who has untold depths. If the part is big enough, he was in The Shield. He is right now in Justified as Boyd Crowder, which is one of my favorite shows and one of my favorite
Yes.
characters on television.
Yes.
He was in Lincoln as one of the bribed senators that changes his vote to support the 13th Amendment. He's just been in a ton of stuff, and he is always good.
But I think the thing that's really stuck out for us is Justified. I mean, it's the thing that kind of put him on our map. I mean, I recognized him when I saw him in Justified. I was like,
Yes.
oh, it's that guy. But
Yes.
but Justified is the thing that has taken him from that guy into his name is Walton Goggins, and you better learn it and stop saying it wrong, Phil. Like
Yep.
it's that level because he's
Yes.
that good.
Yes.
So it's just for like 2 seconds, and skinny is even skinnier somehow magically.
It's true. It's true. Baby faced, but even skinnier.
Amazing, and he's got like 2 lines, and it's just cool to see him.
Yeah, it literally is like, oh, good to
This
see you.
movie is one of those movies like Air America, where every single time you see someone, you're like, "Hey, it's that guy."
It's true. That is true.
Probably for us, not for people. Like if you're listening to this and you're like another generation, first of all, it's amazing that you listen to this. But secondly, like you would just be like, not really a that guy for us. But for our generation, movies like this were just chock full of that guys.
Very true. That's all I want to say about Walton Goggins. You know, you want to talk about how ridiculous
so-
the plot is? You want to talk about the acting? You want to talk about
Where do we start? Do you want to hear my argument for why this may be Mel Gibson at his best looking?
Can we save that? Because I do want to talk about how ridiculous the plot is, and it's just a lot of fun.
Okay.
This plot, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to spoil it, but you should see it because it is a lot of fun. I would go so far as to recommend this movie.
Wow.
I had not seen it before I watched it for
Okay.
Melway.
Okay.
This plot involves a very very young Elijah Wood landing a B-52 bomber.
With help.
Only verbal help by the end.
To be fair, MG taught him how to land the plane with a makeshift cockpit that they designed out of household items in a treehouse not 15 minutes earlier. So it would seem to me that Elijah Wood is perfectly ready to
Yes,
land
yes.
a plane.
The highest tech simulator available to
Do you realize
using
it would have
government
taken
funding.
like 6 hours to put together that cockpit?
It must have taken them so long.
And it's supposed to be like this thing that they just do.
Yes.
Mel Gibson teaches him like how to fly, quote unquote, by
Yes.
building a they build a cockpit in the kid's treehouse out of household items, and it's
So
an adorable
absurd.
scene. It's a phenomenal scene.
Yes, agreed.
But I think, yeah, the movie's completely ridiculous, and of course it is. It's ridiculous and whimsical and charming because it was written by J.J. Abrams. Oh, we haven't
Ew.
said that yet. Who's listed as Jim Abrams? He wasn't even
Is it?
J.J. yet.
Fascinating.
This was the third script that he had sold, and he sold this script for $2 million.
Good for you, JJ. Or
And a
shall I call you
story.
Jim?
Do you know what the first screenplay that J.J. Abrams was credited with?
I do not.
Taking Care of Business, the Jim Belushi genius film.
And I mean, there are just so
I believe
many
it's Jim
wonderful
Belushi
credits
and
to choose
Charles
from.
Grodin.
Hmm?
I believe it's Jim Belushi and Charles Grodin.
It is. There are just so many choices. But I think it's my favorite Jim Belushi film. I mean, he is a titan of Hollywood. But I think it's my favorite. I think it's my
And he has
favorite.
that little ponytail.
Yep.
I think it's either. I mean, it's either that or Canine or Red Heat with Schwarzenegger. But I think those are your only three real options.
I enjoy those two movies. I'm going
Taking
with
Care of Business is very
TKB.
special. Yeah. Taking Care of Business in a
TCB.
Flash. TCB in a Flash. My brother and
Mm.
I saw that together. My brother Matt and I went to the movies and saw that. I don't know how that happened, but we did. And that was a movie that happened to me.
That's true.
So J.J. Abrams wrote that while he was still in college.
What are we doing with our lives?
I don't. We're doing a podcast over Skype that people watch for free on YouTube or listen to on iTunes, I think. Hey, you're a lawyer trained at Duke University, and I'm a priest in God's one holy Catholic and Apostolic Church. I feel like we're doing okay, my friend.
That's
This podcast, just a little thing we do on the side.
hmm.
You
It's
know,
fair.
just to scratch that little itch that we have.
Indeed.
Talk about movies. But
Even
J.J.
unlike
Abrams, J.J. Abrams, clearly a prodigy.
clearly a prodigy, and yet like even this far back we can see sort of like the J.J. Abrams shtick, right? Which is genuine characters. Sometimes he is more or less successful at creating them, but his desire to have real, genuine people put into situations that involve some sense of like fantastical,
Ridiculousness, yeah.
it's fantastical elements.
Yes. And I will
Um,
say, also, once I realized it was J.J. Abrams, I really started thinking about the movie completely differently and started watching it almost like a Spielberg movie, and realized it was definitely at that early age. I think he was trying to make a Steven Spielberg movie when he made that movie. I think,
Fascinating.
and I think that had someone else directed it. It was directed, by the way, by the gentleman who made the movie House, that our friend Mike Robb loves so much.
Man, that
And
keeps coming
some
up, or that
and
movie
some
keeps
other
coming up.
movies and some other movies that are not, none of them are great.
Sure, sure.
But he had wanted to try to get there was a couple other people that he wanted to try to get that were bigger names, but they just
Okay.
couldn't afford it because they probably had to pay Mel Gibson too much money. Mel Gibson's production company, by the way, Icon Productions. This is the second movie that they did. He started the production company with a friend, and one of the reasons they did it was so that they could fund things they wanted to see happen. Hamlet, they were having trouble securing funding for the Hamlet they wanted to make, so they did that. And then they
Awesome.
went on, and he was one of the exec producers of this movie. So I'm surprised that they weren't able to get the director that he wanted, since he was one of the exec producers of the film. But that's fine. You see, if you think about this movie as J.J. Abrams and know how his affinity for Spielberg and start to think of this as a Spielberg movie, you could see how this movie, if they had just shifted it a little bit, would be focused more on the child.
Yeah.
The movie
Yeah.
is squarely focused on Mel Gibson, and
Yes.
Elijah Wood is almost tacked on
Yeah.
as a
Yeah.
plot device, but I think had a different director worked in that with that, I think that could have been different, and you could see this as really like in the vein of E.T. I
Yeah.
mean, kids find alien, kids find frozen man, kids befriend frozen man / alien, kids help frozen man / alien get out of jam. Now that I'm talking about it, holy crap, this is just E.T. I could have written this movie.
It's
Give me
you're
my,
right.
give
You're
me
right.
give me my $2 million, Hollywood. And by the way, this movie was in 1992, not 1993. That means this movie was 21 years ago. Also, that means,
Oof.
I know we're so old. That means that was $2 million 21 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ridiculous.
Ridiculous. But again, JJ, job well done.
We go Jages.
Um,
Jage.
I think that's really interesting. I think that's really interesting. You know, I completely agree with you, but it just didn't occur to me, so I didn't think of it in terms of like a Steven Spielberg movie. But it really is that sort of like that sort of like golden age of Spielberg story, right? And some of the
Yep.
movies were more successful than others. And I'm talking not just about the movies he directed, but the ones he produced too, like The Goonies and stuff like that.
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
Spielberg, even at his best, has been about spectacle through which you, if it's one of his more successful movies, through which you get to know the characters. You
Yeah.
know, like
Yeah.
like Indiana Jones would be just as interesting if you stuck with him when he was lecturing at the college, but you wouldn't know it, right?
Obviously, because the girls are writing things on their eyelids to tell him how much they love him. So
Indeed.
clearly, he
Love you.
was a great
Love you.
teacher.
Love
Creepy.
you.
Creepy.
Love you.
Creepy. So creepy. It's a creepy thing. Now that I've been a teacher,
Mm-hmm.
like when I saw that scene before I was a teacher, I was like, dude, that chick likes you, Indiana Jones. And now I've been a teacher, and I'm like, oh, that's not good. Like that's like
That's
the kind of thing, and especially that was supposed to be in like the 30s or something. If that was made today, he would be like immediately writing her name down and going to the principal and being like, we have a problem.
indeed.
I used
Indeed.
to. Yeah, well, that's a whole other story. Anyways, we're not going to. That's a whole other story. Suffice to say, now that I have been in a position of teaching younger people, you become hyper aware of anything remotely like that.
True. Yes.
So,
Fair.
anyways, but you're right. That is a total. Now we're talking about something completely different.
Yes.
J.J. Abrams clearly making a Steven Spielberg movie, in my opinion. The
Yes.
more I think about it,
I agree
and
with
that's
that
okay.
assessment.
That's okay, especially because he was probably like 12 when he wrote it, and he's like, you know. But
That's
the
right.
guy who directed he has an interesting career because he directed before he came to this movie. He did Friday the 13th parts 2 and 3,
Great.
House, the C. Thomas Howell epic Soul Man, which I have spoken about before on this show. But then check this out. He directed 9 episodes of The Wonder Years during their first and second season.
Huh. Okay.
So picking him would not be a bad pick for someone who's shooting something that has to do with showing the kid.
Right.
But I think this movie just came out at a time in Gibson's career where he was so much Mel Gibson.
The movie had to be about him.
Whether it
Yeah.
should have been or not, it had to be.
Yeah, it had to be about him. Which is interesting because, I mean, certainly nowhere near as large a star as Mel Gibson, but Jamie Lee Curtis was not an unknown. She was a star at that time.
Yeah.
But,
Oh yeah, of course.
But she is, and she's clearly sort of the second most important person in the movie, but it's a distant second. It is a distant second.
Yeah. Yeah.
Except for the scene where out of nowhere she's being abused by an ex-boyfriend and he comes in and beats the
Randomly.
crap out of him. It's amazing.
It was very like, we need a plot point here.
We need a plot point and yes.
But they gave Mel Gibson an opportunity to be very smolderingly wonderful, and they set up. It's a delightful movie. We're making fun of it a lot, but it is really like I don't know. I feel like it's Mel's first straightforward romantic movie. Since what? I mean,
Maybe,
if you had to list them.
I mean, you could argue The Year of Living Dangerously, but that's
you
too...
couldn't. It's way too political.
Yeah.
It's
I
way
agree.
too about a lot of other things.
Yeah, agreed.
This is
Agreed.
the first sort of like Mel Gibson as heartthrob or as just strictly romantic film. Like he tried to make a romance.
Something else I want to talk about real quick. I don't know if this is like a
except for him.
cinematography, like... You all right there?
I am sorry. I had to throw something at my dog. Go ahead.
I support that. I don't know if this is something to do with the cinematography or if this is just a cinematographer's choice with this movie and with this other movie that I'm about to mention, or if this is just how sort of movies looked in the early 90s. But the 1939 scenes look a lot like the Rocketeer, which is set in the same general time period. And like, there's something about sort of like the quality of the light as it hits off like the clothes and the buildings and stuff. You're like I'm watching an old time movie. You know?
It is. They definitely do that. It gives you that feeling like, well, and the funny thing is you are watching an old time movie again because it did come out 21 years ago. We're so old. We're so old.
We are so old. We're so old.
Shall we talk about Elijah Wood in this film?
Let's.
He's just adorable.
He is adorable. He's an attractive guy now, but he's a weird looking dude.
He's a weird looking attractive guy.
Yes. In this movie, he is angelic. He's so adorable.
So
like the phrase like grandmother's like I want to eat you up with a spoon was like invented for this guy's face.
Yes.
He's just adorable. And he's a little cutesy, but he's not super cutesy. Like I wouldn't put it in he's at this stage of his career, he's no Fanning sister. He's no Haley Joel Osment.
Fair.
But he's good. He's better, and I don't like to speak ill of the people whose careers are dead, but he's better than his friend. And it's not close.
They're dead. Oh no, I know what you mean. You know? Although I like that kid because I've seen him on other things. He was in Rookie of the Year.
That's right. Yes,
and a couple of the movies. But I know what you mean. No, it's it's interesting you said that because it's like when you and I watched, and this is a totally different situation. Except I'm going to make them totally the same. When you and I watched Summer City, which is Mel Gibson's first ever movie,
woof.
And I use the word movie lightly, it was very clear that he was not, even though he was not the star of the film, he was maybe the only real actor there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's not the case here because here you actually have a bunch of professional actors, but Elijah Wood is clearly one of them.
Yes.
Like he's clearly, even at the age of, I think he's 11 when this movie's made, knows what he's doing.
Yes.
What do you think about Elijah Wood's career, by the way?
I love it.
Are you a viewer or a fan of the show Wilfred that he's doing?
I'm not, but I love that he's doing it. I love and when I say I'm not a fan, it's just I haven't seen it.
Sure.
You can only marry so many shows.
But you could divorce a couple of the terrible shows that you watch.
That's true, but hopefully they'll be ending soon, and then I can put them to bed forever.
It's true.
I'm so sad. I'm so.
The great thing about
I'm so cold.
The great thing about these, even the 30-minute shows but the ones that are on FX and AMC and stuff like that, is unlike network shows, you can binge watch them.
That's true.
You really, there's been a lot of conversations about binge watching television, and it's been sort of a catchphrase lately. And I've got to say, I really think it's only possible on shows, for the most part. My mom apparently has watched like 400 episodes of NCIS in the last month because she and her...
Woof.
Hey, listen,
okay.
No, don't. That's my mother. You watch it. She and her husband have... They recently were like, this has apparently been the most popular show on television for however many years, and we've never seen it. Let's watch a couple. So they watched a couple, and they were like, oh, we really like this. And then they kind of got into it, and then they were like, now they're just like, and they've got this mentality of, we're catching up. We're going to get all the way to the year. So they haven't watched anything but NCIS for the last couple months, which I think is adorable. I love it. But right. I'm not going to watch NCIS, but I love that they're watching every single one. But I've tried binge watching network television. I tried it with Person of Interest because I got behind by about a dozen episodes or more.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, network television is not made for binge watching.
Yep.
Because it's not serial, and because it's not contained within. They're not looking at a 12-episode arc. They're looking at a 25-episode arc.
Mm-hmm.
Or 30. Is it 30 or 25?
No, it's between 22 and 24. Yeah.
So they're looking at a 22 to 24 episode arc.
Yeah.
It's not the same. Wilfred, there's 11 episodes a season. You know?
Are you a fan of Wilfred?
I am a fan of Wilfred. I watched it at first just because of what you said, which was Elijah Wood's making an FX show where he talks to a dog. I'm gonna
Yes.
watch this show.
Yes.
And I got through the first season, and I will readily admit this. I got through the first season, and my wife was not a big fan of it.
Okay.
And so when my wife's not a fan, I mean, I joke around a lot, but if my wife's not a big fan of something, I am oftentimes less interested in it.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. There are shows that I love having to myself, but actually I would prefer to watch shows with her. It's just more fun. So I was like, no, Wilfred. And then my friend, Sebastian, came to visit, and he was like, I love Wilfred. It's the greatest show. And he was just talking about it nonstop. And it made me go like, I reevaluate. And so then I started watching the second season by myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, and I liked it more. And I don't know if it was just because my friend told me that he liked it, and I'm a very malleable human being.
Nice.
I disguise myself as a curmudgeon, but I'm actually a very malleable human being. You know, so I started watching, and I think the show's gone in a really interesting territories. And I mean, Elijah Wood's a really good actor, and it's fun to see him do that.
Agreed.
And the guy who plays the talking dog, there's a sentence made for posterity.
Indeed.
The guy who plays the talking dog his comic timing is without parallel.
Fantastic.
The dog stuff is just the best stuff on the show. It really is. And it's really done. The guy really walks a fine line between hero and villain, frankly.
Okay. Like a normal dog.
I have a dog, and that makes sense to me.
Sure. And I second that. I think Elijah Wood, you know, because he was a successful child actor, and then he started, and honestly, you know, he was in one of the largest film series of all time. He carried it.
Yes.
And he has had a successful career since then, doing clearly, whether they're good movies or not, whether they're popular movies or not, he is clearly doing movies, just movies that he wants to do.
Yeah.
And I applaud that as a film fan, as a fan of his in particular, as an ex-actor. On every level, I applaud that. I'm a fan of Elijah Wood.
Totally.
Yeah.
I don't know what else to say about this movie. It was fun. It was ridiculous. It was George Wendt was in it, and then I watched Fletch the other day. And George Wendt is in that, and I was like, "What's up, George Wendt?"
You wanted to talk about makeup.
So what happens is, spoiler, giving you ample time to turn this off if you don't want to know what happens at the end of Forever Young. Mel Gibson's character, Lieutenant like Hank McCoy or Dallas McCormick or Hot Mick Johnson. It doesn't really
Mick Squarejaw.
It doesn't matter. Yes. He wakes up, and then it turns out that he just starts aging. Like, he catches up to how old.
Yes.
And you can tell because he goes, "Urgh!" And it hurts apparently to age. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
It's been going fine for me so far. But apparently it hurts to age that quickly. And one of the reasons, you don't realize this, one reason you only age 1 year per year is if you age 50 years in 2 days, it hurts.
Yes.
So this is why God has set up our bodies like this wisely. So that we only age 1 year per year. Mel Gibson ages 50 years.
It just makes sense.
Yes, it does. Well,
it just makes sense.
One more way this cosmic ballet is perfectly synchronized.
Like a Swiss timepiece.
just like a beautiful symphony.
Indeed.
So Mel ages, MG ages 50 years in like a day or two, and then first of all he ages like a couple years or a decade in a couple days, and then within an hour in an hour he's like, "I'm really old."
It's true.
Which is hilarious, by the way, because they find what happens is the reason that he gets frozen for 50 years is the person who froze him died randomly, and then there was a fire also randomly. Maybe he died in the fire. It's not really explained well. But long story short, like, they have all these books. They find all his notebooks, and in one of the notebooks it says, like, "The aging is irreversible!" !! Well, one, if the scientist who knew that had written it down, he could have unfrozen his friend by then, and he would have only aged a day.
Yes.
No big deal. One.
Yes.
Two, all aging is irreversible. That's why they call it aging. There's no going back. So when I saw that in the book, and they showed it as like this, oh no.
Right, it's a big reveal.
Well, duh, people. Come on. The other thing I want to say about this movie, well, there's first of all, again, George Wendt. It's
Oh.
he was a hero of our childhood. Norm was a huge part of the most popular sitcom of our upbringing. That and the Cosby Show. Everyone our generation watched Cosby Show and Cheers. Everyone did.
Yes.
And Norm, and I remember when the last episode like happened, I actually consciously thought, I wonder what will happen to George Wendt's career. And I was like 12, and I wondered that. I was like, I didn't want to lose that guy.
Right.
So, and of course we have. He's gone. But it was good to see. I mean, he's not in anything like on television or movies right now. But it was great to see him in those things right then. The other thing I want to say is about. Oh no! Please don't lose it! Don't lose it! Don't lose it! It's so good. You're gonna love this. Oh yeah! Oh my gosh! There it is. I got it. Are you ready? Okay. So, and we talked about this before. When there is only one person of color in an entire movie, you're allowed to call them the black guy. Because it's not my fault. I'm not being racist. It's Hollywood's fault for only casting one black person in a film.
Agreed.
I do want to look up this guy's name because he is a legitimate that guy.
His name is Joe Morton.
Thank you. Joe Morton. Joe Morton plays, and this is amazing to me, a guy who gets woken up in the middle of the night, and he is a top secret cryogenic scientist who's doing basically work that's way ahead of its time and confidential in terms of technology. Mm-hmm. And he in the middle of night to find out that there are other people who have done this and that he has to be involved with this.
What does that sound like, Phil?
Same character in Terminator 2!
He's the same character in Terminator 2.
Same actor doing the exact same thing in Terminator 2.
Yes, and he's good in both roles.
Robotics, but that's fine.
Without giving away too much about either movie, this movie turns out better for him.
It does. But it only came out, oh my gosh, please tell me it came out in the same year. I need this movie to have come out in the same year because I am, while I'm looking this up, I want to also point out that it has Art LaFleur in this movie.
Yes. Art LaFleur, who you might know as having played Babe Ruth, or also Babe Ruth. I mean,
so he was in Terminator 2 Judgment Day, Joe Morton was, in 1991. Mm-hmm. In this movie a year later, and I feel like he's playing a variation on the same character. Like, I feel like the producer was watching Terminator 2 and was like, reading the script for Forever Young and was like, well, let's get that guy. Let's just get
that guy.
Get it really well. Let's do it where he doesn't get shot and die.
Yes, indeed.
I love that guy. I love Joe Morton. I'm sorry that I didn't know his name, but he's that guy.
Yeah, no, he totally is. He totally is. Well done. I did like that. Thank you. Thank you for that.
I knew it was stuck in the back of my head somewhere, and I need to say it. Also, the Jamie Lee Curtis connection, because Jamie Lee Curtis was in True Lies, which was a James Cameron movie, and I had James Cameron on the brain the whole time.
Oh, sure. But real quick, to circle back to the aging thing, because what do you think about the old person makeup?
It looks, my wife said, that's what Mel Gibson looks like now. And it hit me. Well, and I said no because his ears and nose are bigger because men's ears and noses apparently this is not part of God's symphony, I don't think. Just keep growing.
Yeah.
Which is nonsense, by the way.
Thanks, nature.
I'm going to go ahead and blame the fall of man on this. I'm going to say that in the Garden of Eden, noses and ears did not continue to grow, but because of our dirty, sinful, wicked ways, our ears will be this long if we live to be 95.
Nice.
Now there's all these guys that are putting these spacers in their ears.
Oh.
Dude, how big are your ears going to be in the year 2020, like 2050? What are you thinking, man? You have not thought this through. Okay.
That's why they haven't thought it through.
Oh, gosh. Okay. But other than that, my wife was like, his makeup looks like he looks actually like Mel Gibson looks now, which I thought was,
Yes,
I mean, not right away, not when he was 80, but when he was like, when he plays, like, when he's like halfway in the middle of the transition. And I think that's pretty accurate.
I do too. I do too.
So,
I think Mel Gibson does a nice job in this movie, but here's
yeah,
how good the makeup was for me. It was so good that it made his acting seem artificial because
mm,
he was still like he tried to do like physical aging, but it
right.
wasn't as it wasn't. It's not that it was a failure, but it wasn't as successful as the makeup, frankly.
Hmm. And I think
Um,
I'm with you. And I think, and the makeup on the other woman who her role is just to be the object of love. She doesn't really have a character, but she's really beautiful and she's
she is
really
very beautiful.
and the one scene she's in or the two scenes she's in, she holds court, she holds her own with him, and I feel like
Mm,
she feels more mature than him, and you feel like she knows. I don't know, like she just I don't know. I think she's they really well cast this person whose name I don't know.
yes.
And she really is only a couple scenes, but her old woman makeup just looks ridiculous. Also, Elijah Wood lands a B-52 bomber. Oh,
Elijah
by the
Wood.
way, for the record, not on a runway, just in case you were wondering.
Right, because the degree of difficulty isn't high enough landing a B-52 bomber.
Just on a mesa, just on a cliff, no big deal.
Right, right. Totally absurd.
And do you know why Mel Gibson can't land the plane? Because it hurts to age. Because he's aging too. That's why.
He is
When you
aging to,
he's
yes, that
eight,
is why.
oh,
That is
baby, oh,
why,
I'm aging. It hurts
because
to
it
age.
hurts to age. Look, we should stop. We should stop. For any number of reasons, we should stop this right now. But I do want to make clear, and I think Phil, you're with me on this. It seems like we've done a lot of making fun of this movie because it's
Ah,
ridiculous,
yeah.
but I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Oh
There is
yeah.
there is
It's an
room
hour.
in this
Can I,
life
can I recommend this
for
movie?
ridiculous.
Can I recommend this movie?
Please.
Gibson is beautiful, ladies. And again, I
Yes.
say at the height of his beauty, period.
Yes.
Okay? Gentlemen, Jamie Lee Curtis is wearing 80s pants somehow in 1993, but she is still lovely. And she's Jamie Lee Curtis. Elijah Wood is totally adorable and sings You Are My Sunshine to a girl while climbing up a tree. Come on. Come
Yeah.
on.
Totally.
I dare you to resist that.
You can't.
Um, it's one of the most embarrassing and fantastic scenes I've ever seen.
Yep.
There's crazy plane stuff, ridiculous sci-fi slash fantasy. It's not really sci-fi, but it's like guy frozen, and so they do the stuff where like I went to where my house used to be, and now there's a place called Ralph's, which is a grocery store. It's got
Yes.
great stuff like that. It's very cleverly written, and most importantly, as with all movies of this level of depth, and frankly, most movies should figure this out. It's only an hour and 40 minutes, guys.
Yeah. Yep.
Like that to me is a recommendation for a film. How is it a good movie? It's 100 minutes. Okay, I'm in.
Yeah.
Like not everything has to be 2 hours and 20 minutes long. Oz the Great and Powerful,
So true.
which I enjoyed. I enjoyed you, Oz the Great and Powerful, but you were too long.
It's true.
But I
That's
enjoyed
true.
you looked beautiful. Okay.
Next 3 weeks. Next 3 weeks on Project Melway. The Man Without a Face.
Yes, that's Mel Gibson's directorial debut,
I am excited to see it. Another movie I have never seen.
and another movie where he takes a young man under his wing.
Excellent.
I forget the name of this kid, but you will recognize him when you see him.
Sure. Week after next, Maverick. Yay. Just so excited.
One of my favorites.
Week after that, sadly, not Rob Roy,
No.
Braveheart. Perfectly fine movie. It's not a bad movie.
Nope. Sure is a long movie.
It is a long movie.
He
And
sure
it
has
is
hair.
not-
He sure has goofy hair extensions in that movie.
It's true, and it's not Rob Roy, and that makes me a little sad. But it has been a while since I've seen Braveheart, and I am excited to watch it again.
I have not seen Braveheart in quite a long time, and I think
Yeah.
it's funny that a lot of people are really excited for us to do Braveheart, and it's like neither of our movies that we're that excited for. I think we're in fun territory here. Man Without a Face is a fine movie. I haven't seen it in a long time. Maverick is one of my favorites, and Braveheart's Braveheart. I think we're in squarely in Happyville for a little while.
Yay! Thank goodness. So those are the next 3 weeks on Project Melway, brought to you by the Gibsonian Institute. We are Second Breakfast. I'm Andy Roth. That's Phil Duvall. We'll see you again real soon. Bye bye.
Bye bye.